Welcome to Elite Expert Insider Podcast, where we will inspire, motivate, and educate entrepreneurs, innovators, and growth seekers. Brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, making the best and brightest in the industry #1 best-selling authors. 80% of people say they want to write a book. We're assuming that's the same for you. If so, contact us at www.eliteonlinepublishing.com and make your book a reality. Hi, it's Melanie Johnson here, and we have another fantastic podcast for you. And Jen, my business partner at Elite Online Publishing, is here. Hey, Jen.
Hey, everyone.
All right, we've had this conversation ongoing, especially since we went to a conference, eWomen's Network, about branding. And as a company, we've been working on ours. It's kind of this thing that I feel like this big, giant boulder that I carry on our backs. And so I met a woman there, Katherine Morales. She is a brand and marketing specialist, and she's going to turn everything you thought about branding upside down and on its ear. You see stuff and you're like, oh, let's just implement, put pictures up, do this. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. So you're going to have to listen to this whole broadcast, because she is just going to open up your eyes and you're going to go, oh. So before you have that oh moment, we want to make sure you subscribe to our podcast. So hit that subscribe button, because we always bring you great content and you want to make sure that you get alerted to our podcast. And please leave us a review. Our podcast is was trending above Damon John's podcast from Shark Tank. So we're really proud of that. And also, if you're looking to publish a book, that's what we do. Jen and I make people best-selling authors and help them to brand themselves as an author. So let's get started. Katherine Morales, it is so great to see you again, and thanks for coming.
Yes, thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
So tell us, Katherine, a little bit about yourself and how you got into branding and this company.
Sure. I like to say branding found me. So I own a company. It's called Inflection Point Communications. And I call myself an authentic brand strategist. So it's not any type of branding, it's authentic branding, and I'll get more into that. But my background is I've worked with the large companies. I did national campaigns with Chick-fil-A with their agency of record. I worked with Hewlett-Packard. I worked with Bayer Crop Science. So I said, what do all of these companies have in common? How do they get to be a big brand? And when I started my business nearly 4 years ago, I decided to work with entrepreneurs. And I started with brand. I always start with brand, because a lot of entrepreneurs have businesses, but they don't really recognize the brand behind that business. Mm-hmm. And that's an essential piece when it comes to effectively marketing. So working with companies like Chick-fil-A, my father worked for Disney. I was blessed with being around a lot of big brands, and I saw this common denominator. How do they get to be there? And, authenticity and clear differentiation is a big piece of that.
So you say brand is beyond your logo. So what does that look like? Walk us through brand beyond your logo.
Great question. Yeah, I think traditionally we think of brand as what we see. But if you think about, anything, the clothes that you choose out of your closet depend on your unique brand. I mean, we get into personal branding as well. So why should it work any different for your business? When you start a business and you think about the name, even the name should convey, naming my business Inflection Point Communications versus Katherine Morales Communications was a decisive choice. I wanted to send a message with the type of work I do. We're going to help you reach your inflection point. A lot of times I'm educating people about what that means, but that's a whole nother ballgame. But the importance of really thinking about what's behind the visual, what are the words, because the moment you see any kind of imagery, a logo, a posting on social media with an image, it creates a thought in your mind. So deciding on the front end, what thought do you want to create in the minds of your customers is essential. So that is all in terms of messaging and thought and behavior that you want to influence. So I work on everything with the authentic brand, which is what is the foundation that you build upon? And that includes your logo. That includes every offering or product that you deliver, because it's a reflection of that foundation.
So tell us a little bit about the story. How does that story tie in? Because I notice you talk a lot about the story and your brand.
Yeah, so I say that your authentic brand is synonymous with the story step. My signature program is called the Authentic Brand Connection, and I say it's like the game of Connect Four. So, it's a solved game, meaning if you are the first to play, you make all the right moves, you'll always win. So the 4 points in the brand connection, the authentic brand connection, are story, message, channel, and audience. The trouble that most business owners run into is, well, first and foremost, if you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, chances are you didn't study communications or marketing, and suddenly that's a skill set that you're required to know something about.
Mhm.
And so most businesses, when they start, they think, okay, I got to get my website going, I get the logo, I got to get check, check, check. And they think about, well, who is this for? Who's my product for? So they think about the audience. Then they think about the channel. I got to get these websites, these channels set up. And then they're like, what the heck am I going to say? So that's the message. But what's missing is that unique story. And the story is your authentic brand begins with, I call it the spark. So especially for entrepreneurs, it's largely who I work with now. And it's whatever drew you to become an entrepreneur to begin with. The moment, I mean, that is risk, fear, hope, dreams, everything. That takes guts to start a business.
Yeah.
Even if you're an expert in your field, it requires all these skills. So the moment that happens, that spark inside of you that creates the fire in your belly to get up every day and keep doing it despite the challenges is what clearly differentiates you. And yet that's what most entrepreneurs start to forget as they get into the, operations and all the minutia of running a business.
Mm-hmm.
But it is rediscovering that. I talk about authentic brand. I say it's the difference between front stage and backstage. So there's a theory that a sociologist named Goffman created, and it's called the self-presentation theory. You can literally Wikipedia it, Goffman theory. And self-presentation theory, as he calls it, is when we decide this is how I want to be perceived.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna, we see this like with celebrities or politicians, or even like a lot of people criticize social media for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was speaking on this panel earlier this year among conference of other communicators, and it had everyone from a student to CEOs at Coca-Cola, because I'm located in Atlanta. And they asked me, well, what's an example of a great brand? What's an example of a bad brand? And I said, well, a great one, I would say Oprah, obvious reasons, I think. And then I said, bad, Cosby, other obvious reasons. But I said, why does that matter to every person in this room? And it's because it doesn't matter if you're famous or if you're, a person walking out. If you own a business,
Mm-hmm.
We're not guaranteed a backstage.
Mhm.
So, whether it's a YouTube video and you're a celebrity and suddenly all this stuff comes out, or you have a conversation or a sales meeting and then you talk to another person, you say something different, your brand, every company has a brand, but it's whether you decide to tell that story or not. So, if you have a business, you can let the people decide that brand, or you can play a more active role in it. So the front stage is where a lot of other branding or marketing specialists may start, because they say, well, what do you want to be? Let's create that look and feel.
Mm-hmm.
As an authentic brand strategist, I work with my clients to say, what makes you unique? What do you do? Like, what do you do? How do you do it better? And why are you special? Let's get to the core of what drives you to do this every day. And let's figure out how we articulate that and convey that to people, and the people that it really matters to reach. So I say it's not about marketing to everyone, but the right someone's.
So it's it can be so difficult. You make it sound so easy, but it's like, how do you come up with those right words? It's like, well, how are we unique? How are we special? Like for us, we look at our competition and say, okay, they're doing it this way. This is how we're different or unique and special. But then there's like an art form of how you pick the words that articulate that it connects with your audience. Is there like a formula? Is there something like, say, if this, then that? Or, I mean, how do you get to that?
Well, that's a great question. So I certainly, I have a story mining process that I do with my clients. I always tell everyone I practice what I preach to. So it's interesting because I have my clients do an exercise that I say, don't spend more than 15 minutes on this initially. And it's literally an exercise of the conscious mind. So you would sit down and say, what are these adjectives and words that I associate, or how I would think about my brand today? And you create lists, and then you bring it down to a few words. But what I tell them as soon as we get to the story mining session is, those 4 words that you ended with, this is how you perceive your brand today. As we do the story mining, which is just an 1.5-hour session I do, that will reveal much more than that. Usually, the most words out of 4 that my clients have found in their authentic brand is 3, which is good. But oftentimes it's only 1 word. And that's to say that how, even for myself, last fall actually, a year ago, I felt, as a business, we're always evolving. So I felt I had a sprint, I had some growth, I had, my mind as an entrepreneur, oh, we need to create that and do that, as every entrepreneur does. That's why we became one.
Right.
And so I knew that was a sign that I needed to reassess where my brand how it had grown. So I did the process again, and I answered the questions, and it led me to discover authentic brand strategists. I said, what do I do different? And it helped me to own that. I went to that conference at Coca-Cola and claimed it. I say, as entrepreneurs, you build the business you desire. And it's not about, when you recognize your authentic brand, you are no longer in competition. I call it perceived competition. Because I say it's the one that you can stand in a room, a conference, myself, full of marketers and communications and PR professionals, and know that you stand out. That's the confidence it gives you. And the results follow.
It. So you come up with the story and the adjectives and the brand, and then it can be like, well, we're this unique, smart PR company. And if you say it like that versus we are a unique, smart PR company, like, it's having the confidence, knowing that you're right and owning that and stepping into it. So I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs, even when we come up with a strategy, is having the confidence and belief in it to own it.
Yes, definitely. It's, the backstage. So I don't know if I clearly conveyed that. So I talked about the front stage, but the backstage is your values, your beliefs, things that you can't really hide that do feed into why you do what you do and how you do what you do.
Which is
tapping into that.
Which is why customers hire you in the first place.
Exactly.
It's the backstage that they're going for. They don't really care what your logo looks like. They care what you stand for and your values and brand, and see if they align with you.
Yeah, there's other factors, of course, that consumers will look at depending on the industry. So, someone might, go with a competitor because have a better rate. They're running a big discount. But ultimately, what creates, I say, the authentic brand creates the most stable and sustainable foundation for you to grow your business. Because ultimately, even if you lose a customer because of price, because the competitor runs some special, if the full picture, the customers today are looking, clients, all of them are looking for that real connection. And what really creates a connection is understanding that intrinsic value that you share. So I say, as business owners, that we have to start to look beyond the dollar value that someone provides, because we know that, I'm sure you all feel this too, that it can be 2 years since someone wrote that book, but one day you're driving down the highway and you just think about them and you smile because you loved working with them. That is understanding, there is that value that lives on forever when you work with someone, whether it lives in a testimonial on your website or in a conversation they find with somebody 3 years down the road who happens to be writing a book. I know the best people you should work with.
Which is us. Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, no, when we understand, we have to begin marketing in that way. Because when we just think about tomorrow and we run a special, but we don't follow the full, I call it, it's like the authentic brand is what you weave like a thread through everything you do. And so, that is what the customer will feel. And in terms of the messaging, so you create your authentic brand, but it's important to also attract the right someones. So it's what I simplistically do is I say, what is that customer's why? What is the impetus for them coming to work with you when they could choose so many other people? And really understanding that point and how it connects to your authentic brand. That magnetic effect is what I work with my clients to create through messaging.
I can't help but, I don't know why, I'm drawing the analogy of dating and finding a mate. I swear, I think because you just put it so simply, it's like, the one story that came up was like, you can't pretend to be something you're not. It's like the girl who says, oh, I love golf. Yeah, I'll go golfing with you. But she really hates golf. And she's just appeasing the new guy to go golfing with him. And then once they're married, she's like, no, I don't want to go golfing. But you used to love to golf. No, I never really liked golfing. You know what I mean? You can only put up that front for so long.
Right.
And then you say like being that authentic self, that if you date someone or have a relationship, you're lining up with the same values, you have that connection with them, and you can't figure out why. It's because all of that lines up. And it's the same whether it's dating as it is, it's like having that relationship with a person. And especially if you're getting into a relationship with a business that's a long-term relationship, you're going to be working with them, that you need to interview them kind of the same way. And think of, they always say, decide the kind of guy that you're looking for, right? If we're thinking about dating. So you're deciding the type of client that you want. What are the values and systems that we want in to attract those clients? Because sometimes you have to fire clients because like you have to break up with a boyfriend because you got the wrong one. Why am I attracting these weird guys? Why am I attracting the weird clients? So you got to decide what values you want them to have that match up with your values, so you are attracting the right clients and your business is succeeding and everybody's happy that they're having those smiles 2 years down the road.
Right. Yeah. That's it's. I'm smiling as you're saying that because I often draw that analogy too, and I've shared this with other people. And I had a grown man, he was older, and he talked about a book that he read for his marriage that was like the same sort of feeling that you just described. But it's interesting because you hit on a point with if you find like you're working with someone that, gosh, that person was just not fun, like I did not like that client, right? Everybody has that feeling, or a customer. There's certain signs, because you can be going along happy in your business and doing some marketing, like why focus on this, why look inside, why look backstage? I'd say really everybody should look to do it, but there's clear signs. That's one of them. If you find that you're not really happy with who you're attracting, you need to reassess, what they're drawn to and how you attract the right ones. And the authentic brand process is the step towards that. I used to say, how do you build a more joyful business? It's not just about building business, but being happy running that business. So, it's when I work with my clients, I'll tell them, think about, especially if they've been in business a number of years, I say, think about that one client that you just wanted to clone. What were those attributes? So literally, I don't call them avatars because I like to say they're like real people. So I say, who is that ideal client? Who is that ideal customer? Paint that picture and really think about what is happening in their life, or, what was the impetus for them to come and work with you.
The aha moment that I just had with you was that, we do for our company, it's like, what's your values, what's your mission statement, all of those types of things. But really with the avatars or ideal clients, when we've walked through that, it's always been their demographic and the type of job they are and all that kind of stuff. I've never been through a process where I've said, what values, I mean, you want to say they line up, oh, they're the exact same as ours, but they may be different, but similar, because not everybody's the same. Is what's your client's mission in life or their company's mission? What is their value statement? What does their brand already look like? Or what do they aspire their brand to look like? So I think we're going to go back. Our exercise is going to be to go back and redo that kind of exercise for our ideal client. I think that's I suggest that for everybody to do that.
So you hit on a great point that usually we're looking at, the demographics. But actually, when I work with my clients and when I go out and speak about this, I look at the psychographics. So that, the reason for that is because in most cases, the data shows that 70% of the purchase decision comes down to the emotions that they feel. So we usually sell based on, the what and the, here's the benefits and the features that you'll get. But ultimately, why does somebody shop at, you all know REI?
Yeah.
I use REI a lot as an example because actually we're coming into that season with, Black Friday. And years ago, I think I want to say like 5 years ago, they did a very successful campaign called hashtag OptOutside. If y'all haven't heard of it, it's wonderful. And actually this year they always do another take on it. This year they're asking people to instead, basically the whole premise was, we are an outdoor company. We sell, sporting goods and things, for people to climb mountains or bike or enjoy the outdoors and camp. So we don't want people sitting in front of a computer, shopping, or Black Friday was, going to the stores at 4 a.m. We want them in the parks. And so they told their employees, we're giving you the day off, the biggest shopping day, and we want you to opt outside and we want you to take a friend. And they inspired all these state parks to do free admission. They inspired other companies, and it's just grown. And so this year they're saying, let's take care of our own environment and, opt outside and clean up. But why does that matter to everybody on this podcast? Is whether that's a perfect example that I use to show how they know their brand, their authentic brand, the value that they bring to their customers, what their customers really want to be doing. They're not going to compromise the sales, and stick them in a long line. They're going to say, hey, when everybody's doing that, we want you guys outside. And actually it boosts their sales. So when you fully own your authentic brand and you know exactly who your customer is, it helps you to grow and stand out.
I love that. Well, tell us where everyone can find you, Katherine, to get more information.
Sure. Well, of course, you can visit my website. That's www.inflectionpointcomms.com, short for communications. And I'm also active on LinkedIn and Instagram at Authentic Brand Strategist.
Terrific. Thank you, Katherine.
Thank you.
Remember, if you're looking to have a book and you want to work with Jen and I, when you work with us, when you walk out that door and become a #1 bestseller and achieve your goals, we would love to be that person that you do it with. So we look forward to working with you. Check us out at eliteonlinepublishing.com. And of course, subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. We would love to hear from you. And we'll see you next time.
If you'd like to create the most powerful advertising tool for your business, contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com, where we will help you create, publish, and make your book a #1 bestseller and show you how to get new leads and more revenue for your business. If you'd like to check us out on our Facebook page, we have a free book for you as our gift. Just go and click free book. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment for our podcast. We would love to hear from you.